Hey guys, it's Delora Dowles here, and I have another book review for you guys. It is Consorting with Spirits by Jason Miller. Now, at first, my Amazon account kept suggesting this book to me, and I was like, I don't really want to consort with spirits. I want to get them to leave me alone. A bitch can't even meditate and not smoke and work on her mental health through meditation without these motherfuckers popping up unwanted, giving me unwarranted advice that I did not ask for. But anyway, I ended up listening to a podcast or something, some kind of interview with Jason Miller in it, and I was like, this person seems really cool. I'm going to give this book a shot, I guess. And so we'll start with the table of contents, because this book is very much an intermediate to advanced book. You can pause to read the table of contents if you want to go through everything. Chapter 2 gets really advanced really quickly as he starts to talk about the layers of different, basically spiritual reality. He gave a 3-level division in one of his previous books, and in this book he breaks it down further. He has the physical, the astral, the mental, and the perfection. And then he also gives bridges in between all of those. So there's like 7 different planes and their bridges, right? And he gives descriptions for each of them, right? So the etheric, he talks about a layer between the physical and astral. It can't be detected by physical implements, but is not entirely separate either. If you think of winds and channels in yoga or meridians in acupuncture, these are non-physical structures that require physical exertion to affect, right? So all of those things, he says, are operating on the etheric plane. And if you're not operating with a magical system or spiritual religious belief where you have these spiritual planes in your system of belief already, this is a really good one to work with. It pretty much jives with most of what I have read from other systems. So it's really good to use. Very practical. And for me, most spirits manifest as being like shadowy figures with there's no identifying marker, so I would not be able to recognize the same spirit over and over again because they all just come to me as shadowy figures, right? I cannot identify them. So he talks about the trick to consorting with spirits is doing the work necessary to form a bridge between their natural orientation point and ours. This may be a simple communication from one level to another. It may be that the spirit manifests to your physical senses. It can be you stretching your senses to meet the spirit at their orientation point, but often it is a meeting somewhere in the middle. I'd always describe this phenomenon as being a frequency, right? And the women in my family have always told me that shadow figures are evil and not to be trusted and na. So I'm also working to shake those off. The fact that I'm only seeing shadow figures is that I'm not doing the work necessary to form a bridge. The spirits are just coming through however they can. I'm not assisting them in any way. Therefore, all I'm getting, because I'm not expecting them to just show up, and I have not reached whatever level of enlightenment I must reach. With these unintentional visitations, I just am. And so I'm not working to bridge any gap. I'm just seeing whatever it is that they are able to push through into my field of senses as a human on the physical plane, right? So it's really, really cool whenever you can read a book and it not only explains better what you had guessed, it fills in the blanks of why, right? And also how to fix it, how to get them to manifest more physically when you are intentionally inviting them, right? So cool. He talks about different forms of manifestation. One of my favorites is resonance. You don't necessarily need to get an entity to come and actually conjure the full entity, right? You just need to get that vibe, right? You just need to get that spark of them into the room, into the spell, and it'll still work. You don't need to go through the full conjuration and get this deity or entity to actually come. You just need to like grab a snippet of their attention, right? And catch their vibe, so to speak. To put it in my own millennial terminology, he explains it, of course, much, much more maturely than I do. He talks about inhabitation, which is very important. It is important for the spirit to know where to go when you call it. And these are all things that I'd never thought of because I never intentionally invited a spirit anywhere. You can have them come into a mirror, a sacred object, statues, and things like that. Also, whenever you perform a visualization, he uses the LBRP as an example. Whenever you are doing the different angels with all the different symbols and colors associated with them, the visualization you choose is not only a way of giving the power of the archangel somewhere to go, but patterns the manifestation by the colors and implements and symbols, telling the form how to act and what you want them to do. So whenever you are reenacting these older rituals, there is a reason why these symbols and colors are there. They are protocols. Keyword anytime you're dealing with conjuration, the word protocol is going to be very important. Anyway, moving on, because I could talk about chapter 2 forever, apparently. One big thing that I love that he discusses is the importance of treating spirits like people, right? Just because they are spirits does not mean that they are more moral or less moral than us. Just like there are con artists that are humans, there are spirits who are con artists too. A lot of people call them tricksters, but I think that that's a different class. There's parasites, there's all kinds of things. Joseph E. McCarthy talks a lot about parasites. And he really talks about how you've already built up your skills of discernment. You're a person living in the world, in this weird, wacky world that we're in. You already know when you're walking down the street whether someone is a sketchy person or not. You can talk to someone for 10 minutes, you can be like, don't like that person, something's off. You need to bring that into the spiritual. You need to reframe your mind and view spirits as being just like people. And that's basically like to run down everything that he says about them. What I love also is that he talks about mutual respect. And whenever he talks about different forms of authority, respect and authority, so whenever you're dealing with different spirits, right? You can do a compelling conjuration, right? In which case you are borrowing authority from someone else or using authority. See, he calls it conferred authority. You can also have invoked authority, where like you're like, I am so and so of blah blah blah, and you pretend to be that person. Gosh, spirits do that too. We get mad at them when they do that, but yet, that kind of authority is something that magicians use all the time. You're basically acting like a trickster and pretending you're someone that you're not to get the spirit to do what you want. And yet you're mad when spirits do that to you. It's funny though. It's interesting whenever you read this book and you find all that out. You also have earned authority, and he talks about Christ. The reason why a lot of other religious people did not like Christ when he was alive was because he would do healing works and exorcisms in his own name instead of the name of God. Because whenever you hit a certain level of experience, you're like, hey, I am so-and-so. I've done this, this, and this. Do you really want to cross me? And there's just something really, really cool about like not having to use someone else's authority and just being like, bah. Anyway, I think Jesus was cool. So like, I don't like Christianity, but I do really, really like Jesus. So anyway, mutual respect, which I really, really loved that whole section. And really it's being patient, but he talks about how mutual respect is not the only way you should go about making friends with spirits. Because what if something pops up and you need to be able to compel them? If you cannot compel them, you cannot exorcise them. That's exactly what he says. And I was like, aha, I must learn how to compel. Well, there's a good thing that he has an entire chapter devoted to that. Now, his chapters 8 and 9, let's go back to the table of contents so I can read the exact names of the chapters. Chapter 8 is Friendly Conjuring. Chapter 9 is Compelling Conjurations. You really want to read both, right? Even if you feel like you're only interested in one and not the other, because he will compare and contrast one and the other in each other's chapters, right? And sometimes whenever someone tells you, oh yeah, this is A, oh yeah, this is B, but whenever they compare and contrast them, you're like, yeah, A is next to B in the alphabet, right? There's little tidbits of information like that about this content in each chapter, so you really do need to read both Friendly and Compelling Conjurations, and maybe even practice a little bit. Intermediary Spirits and Familiars was one of my favorite chapters. It definitely gave me a lot to think about and like what I want to do in the future with my practice, and how to go about keeping unintended visitors, unintentional spirit visitors from coming to visit me, right? And that's cool whenever you can read a book and you can immediately apply it to you having a problem and how you can solve the problem that you're having. So for me, my problem is that, you know, like I'll get visitations from spirits and I'm just not mentally ready for it, right? I'm trying to whatever, meditate or whatever, because I'm in a sensitive situation mentally, and then a freaking spirit comes along and I'm like, I just wanted to heal my PTSD and inner trauma. What are you doing in my house? So yeah, definitely making friends with some kind of intermediary spirit that would keep other spirits from bothering me would be great. Yes. Anyway, relationships and pacts was also very interesting, and what I like is that there's a ton of historical knowledge in here as well. So he makes a lot of references. Fred, could you not? Fred. No. Anyway, he makes a lot of references to Saint Cyprian, Hecate, lots of different people, Christ, like I mentioned, and you know, he talks about Solomonic magic a lot. He mentions the PGM several times. So, like, if you know anything about those particular subjects, you'll have lots to vibe with what he's saying. He also, so in his Friendly and Compelling Conjuration chapters, he gives you an example of how to do a traditional Solomonic way of doing it, as well as a pagan way of doing it. He uses Saint Cyprian a lot, he uses Hecate a lot, and he even uses some Luciferian stuff, right? So it's like with Compelling Conjurations in the Solomonic path, you can do everything invoking the name of God. You can also do everything invoking the name of Lucifer, right? And he gives you like example scripts, basically example scripts of what to say, using, you know, doing doing these two different types of conjurations, and yet he gives you so many examples and so many scripts. You can literally pick something and go with it, and I think that's really cool. He doesn't just say, here it is, go for it, and give you just one mode, one method, one flavor, right? He's actually giving you a Hecatean version. He's giving, like, for your pagan version, right? And it's just an example. You can substitute Hecate with whoever else that you actually like, to like to work with, who you have a connection with, whatever deity. You can use the Luciferian way, which is like topsy-turvy, because, you know, conjuring in Western traditions has always been Solomonic. It's always been calling on the power of God and the archangels. What if you do the opposite and you call on the power of Lucifer and, you know, the opposites of the archangels, like, what's the archdemons? What is that what you call them? I don't know, but that's what you do. And so he gives you examples, so many examples, to where I feel like I could go outside right now and do a conjuration that's pretty half-assed, but I'd probably get some kind of result from it. And if it doesn't turn out the way I need it to, I can save my ass before something bad happens, just from reading this one book. And that's really cool. Again, like I said, this is an intermediate to advanced book, so sometimes there's going to be things in here that might go over your head, right? but that you might understand later. And I definitely suggest, if you've never done a conjuration before, you need to read through the entire book first and then start doing some of the exercises and conjurations. Yes, and also this is really, really good for people that are just trying to get the spirits to shut up too. I have gotten lots of really fun things happen, and I would like to be able to have more control over them. I would like to be able to better identify the spirits that do come through, right? So that I know who the hell they are and what's going on, and you know, so it's definitely got a lot of really good tidbits in it. I don't really say this a lot, but this book's kind of a must-have. Now, I will say, Brad decided he was going to try to help me with this book review. So just know that this book is really durable to water damage, and I'm very lucky that he drank lots of water that day, because the ammonia smell is not so strong as it usually is when he pees on things. But look at this cover. There's no discoloration at all on the front or back cover. Wiser Books used very high quality paper. It only got on the corner of the book, but as you can see, there's only very minimal rippling right here and like no rippling right here. Yes, so you can thank Brad for that. I now know that this book does not hold on to an ammonia smell or discolor with ammonia urine, cat urine. So anyway, Brad is on anti-anxiety pills now. It's very weird giving my cat anti-anxiety medication when me, suffering through my bouts of PTSD, refused medication, and now I'm giving my cat medication. It's interesting. Cats cannot do EMDR though. So, but I will say that it's actually had a really, really good effect on him. He's not peeing on things that he's not supposed to pee on. And my parents commented, wow, he has really long legs. I was like, yeah, my cat has long legs. They were like, well, you know, he's always like, you know, creeping around, you know, we haven't seen his legs, but now he's walking tall. So his entire temperament has changed, and I think it's for the better. It's just that he's not my cuddle bunny anymore, and maybe that's just because he's not an anxious mess. He doesn't need the cuddles anymore. I do really, really miss the fact that he needed hugs all the time, but I'm glad that he's better. I would rather sacrifice the hugs and him be better than him constantly need hugs because he never feels safe. Anyway, my cats. Thank you for watching this long. If you really liked this video, hit like and subscribe. I try to put out a video a week on my channel, sometimes less when life gets in the way. So, but if you did like this, hit like, and maybe I'll try to find books on the same subject, similar subject matter. And again, any comments, questions, please put them down below. And until next time, happy dabbling and bye-bye.